Tennessee is just a day away from squaring off in just its second Elite Eight matchup in program history. This time, one seed Purdue will be the opponent. I'm Ryan Sylvia. This is Noah Taylor. We're with TheReport.com on the Rivals Network. Noah, you headed to the locker room. I talked to Rick and some players on the podium. We'll start with you, though. Just what was the general feel of the locker room? Sometimes you can kind of get a vibe on what the feeling is. Is it locked in? Is it loose? Sometimes it's worth buying into. Sometimes it doesn't really mean a lot. But just what was it today?
Yeah, I feel like it was very much locked in, and the way the guys answered a lot of the same questions you kind of heard. Which the big one is Zach Edey, and a lot of the questions were directed at Tobe Awaka and Jonas Aidoo. Obviously, Jonas struggled in that game, the Maui Invitational back in November. A lot of questions about where this team has changed, where this team has improved. I'm sure it was the same when Rick Barnes talked, but it's just, they seem pretty locked in, kind of a business approach for sure in that locker room. And both Jonas and Tobe talked a lot about the physicality, being more physical in that game. And then, Zakai and Josiah Jordan-James, Jemai Mashak were asked a lot about where they feel where Jonas Aidoo is at right now, and say be himself, just be what he's been these last few games, what he's been in, what he was in SEC play. Come out and play with that approach. And it's hard to argue. It is a very much different Tennessee team. I think it was interesting to hear Zakai also talk about where he's at, differently from that game, because he was obviously coming back from injury. We weren't really sure at that point, was he back 100% health or not. So this is kind of a big proving game for him too, I think. An opportunity for him to go out there and show that he is a different player than he was then. But that was kind of the vibe among the guys, locked in, but they know that they're a different team now and they're ready to prove it on Sunday.
Were you able to get maybe a sense of the game plan for Zach Edey? Is it physicality, deny the ball? Rick was up there talking about how many fouls were called in the first game, and obviously that's something that's been a big emphasis around Zach Edey, is people talking about his ability to get to the line. Rick talks about how he hopes that there's not that many foul calls, but people do forget Zach Edey missed a lot of free throws in that win over Tennessee. So Rick also joked about how, hey, hopefully he doesn't look as sharp from the line again. But what is the plan for Zach Edey from what you picked up?
I think the guys are aware of that. Obviously, Tobe and Jonas, especially Tobe, those are guys that have struggled at times. And that's been a recipe kind of for disaster for Tennessee, is when those guys are getting fouled, obviously, in the paint. But I didn't really get a sense of any inclination or any hesitancy from them. I think that, obviously this is a team that loves to be physical, that prides itself on being physical. And you kind of get the idea from those guys in there that just because, Edey's a guy that gets to the free throw line a lot, obviously you want to change your game plan a little bit to avoid that. But I don't think that the guys have any, plans of going in there and trying to think too much about that to the point where they're just letting him work them down low and be able to get away with whatever. I do think that they're aware of the free throw or the foul trouble that they've been in this year, what Zach Edey presents. But I think that they're very much planning to be physical with him too.
And when you look outside of just Zach Edey, there's a lot of guards that can knock down shots, get to the rim, and kind of open things up for Edey. Rick was asked about this a lot, and kind of the main emphasis was we need to play team defense. You can't just hone in on Zach Edey. Everyone needs to be on their assignment, playing at a top level on the defensive end. You got maybe a little bit of a test of it on Ryan Kalkbrenner last night, a 7-1 player who's capable of doing that. And you see guys like Jemai Mashak come up with a big block, and him trying to post up some other guys, and everyone just kind of playing their role around him. Do you feel like Tennessee's prepared for that, for not only defending Zach Edey, but everyone around him too?
Yeah, I think so. And I think that you've got these last two games have been big for them in doing that. Obviously a Creighton team that shoots really well on the perimeter too. And obviously they're able to hit some big shots and kind of erase that deficit almost last night. But ultimately it came down to defense again for Tennessee. And I think that, like you said, playing that team defense, being able to, I think Creighton was almost a really good matchup for them to go into this game. Because like you said, there's been times this year, Zach Edey being one, where Tennessee's bigs have struggled against a big guy. Last night, passed the test against Creighton. I think for them, if you're going into this game, it's just kind of you're looking at the film, looking at what you did the last two games, and telling yourself, don't change it. Just kind of keep playing that way. I think that's going to be big for them, not getting away from their identity defensively.
Well, 24 hours from now, we'll be in here. That game will be nearing an end. We might be getting a hint on who's going to be moving on to a Final Four for Tennessee. It would be the first in program history. Like I said, 24 hours out. What do you think? Tennessee going to get it done?
Man, the beginning of the year, I think we talked about it last night. We felt pretty good about Elite Eight. Here we are. Now the big question is Final Four. Man, I think Tennessee's playing really well right now. I think that they really kind of found, you had that Texas game. take it for what it is. You didn't shoot well, but you won it. And I know we've talked a lot about that, but last night was kind of a complete performance out of them. They're playing really good right now. I think if you're Purdue, it's hard to beat a team like Tennessee twice in the same year. So I think that's going to be a little bit of a challenge for them too. Gosh, man, I guess I'll take Purdue. I feel like they still have the edge. I think Zach Edey, his ability, reigning player of the year, obviously looks like he's on track to repeat that. I'll take Purdue, but I would not be shocked at all with the way this Tennessee team is playing.
Yeah, I think it comes down to, can they? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Will they? You have to wait and see. It's maybe you have to see it to believe it with Tennessee basketball getting to a Final Four. Only their second opportunity at this stage. It's as good a team as any to get it done, though. This team is kind of prepared for March, and if anyone's going to beat Purdue, I think Tennessee's on the short list of teams that can get it done. Make sure to head over to volreport.com, though, as we have more preparation for the game, then game coverage, as well as Tennessee looks to punch its ticket to Phoenix, football coverage, baseball coverage, women's basketball coverage, everything you need. Tennessee Athletics over at volreport.com. Links and everything you need is in the description. Thank you for watching.